Hello again, it's Tim Clark reporting from Los Angeles for CMVG. We've just come from the Sony, well, we're still in fact in the Sony E3 press conference. I'm joined by Dan Dawkins from PSM3.
Hi there.
Dan, going into the show, you were very excited. You were hoping for a bit of a sniff of the next generation, hoping Hideo Kojima was going to be there, thought maybe there'd be a GTA 5 trailer. In the end, we got none of that. What did you make of the show overall, though?
If I was to dwell on the positives, quite good. I think certainly at the end, The Last of Us was incredible. Like this morning, I sat through the Black Ops trailer and watched, the entire universe explode, and I still sat there like completely bored. But The Last of Us, just by virtue of making it, a genuinely thrilling, quite dangerous thing, no health packs, real sense of menace. And right at the end, when the guy jumped across with the shotgun, I did actually do a little on my seat, like a little jolt.
It was incredibly violent, wasn't it? I think it said something, though, that we've seen so much violence already in this first day that when the character in the game first choked the dude out, I thought that was quite pedestrian compared to the amount of throat stabbing we've seen. Have you been surprised by just the sheer level of brutality on show so far at E3?
It's been absolutely numbing. I think you look at games like Modern Warfare and you thought that it can't go any higher up than that. Well, every game started just at that bar. And as a result, the entire show's had a kind of desensitizing, it's all guns feel about it. But I think, The Last of Us did a great job of making violence feel violent, and just feel threatening and to make you feel, I've got to get this right.
I guess the two games that really stood out for me was obviously The Last of Us, which closed the show, but also Beyond, David Cage's new game from Quantic Dream. Again, featuring the actual Ellen Page rather than the Ellen Page alike that's in The Last of Us. And so we saw there was this girl with seemingly telekinetic powers. There's a sense that she had sort of an invisible buddy with her. There wasn't a huge amount of clarity in terms of what the gameplay is going to be, but you would assume it's going to have Heavy Rain type branching sort of choice, perhaps mixed with Ben from OPM was telling us he's seen a bit more of it, and there's elements of Fahrenheit kind of gameplay in there. What was your take on Beyond?
I was actually surprised with the sort of telekinesis, ghostly feel. I thought maybe it would be a straighter bat than that. But I think, that's where David Cage did a lot of good work with Fahrenheit, so I'm really interested to see quite how wild it gets, and if you can twin that to what Heavy Rain was brilliant at, and that sense of branching plot, and more than anything, Heavy Rain built a sense of consequence and weight to your actions. And again, I think Sony's doing better work than most in terms of games that feel, mature and emotional.
It felt to me like overall it was kind of like a classic Sony conference in the sense that the highs were maybe higher than what we'd seen from Microsoft, but some of the bits that misfired and seemed to go on for a long time were a bit lower. I mean, there was the Wonder Book, which was an interesting innovation, and a big scoop for them to get J.K. Rowling involved, but I felt like that demo went on for 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like you said, Wonder Book is a wonderful idea. J.K. Rowling on board is huge, it's a colossal thing, and it all ties into Sony's broader strategy, where with PlayStation 4, whether it's called, on the horizon, they've got to sell as many PlayStation 3s as they can to as wide a market as they can. And that market now is the family. And they're trying to include us by giving us the big hitters like The Last of Us. But really, it's all about broadening the demographic. And you're going to get LBP karting. You're going to get what we've just seen with Wonder Book. And I looked at that and thought, would I play with that with my son? Maybe I would.
One game you wouldn't, I imagine, play with your son was God of War Ascension, which again was fairly violent. Which is not a bad thing, but to me it left me a little bit cold. I can't really see what God of War's doing new. We're on to like the 4th one or so now. It seemed to me fundamentally the same game. Beyond there was a bit of kind of environmental transformative stuff, but I saw people joking on Twitter that he's wiped out the whole pantheon of Greek gods, and so he's now moved on to the zoo and is kind of busy working his way through the poor old elephants. How did you feel about Kratos' return?
It left, to be honest, really cold. I think it's undoubtedly technically quite accomplished, but it was at that stage with God of War 3. And I want God of Wars to dazzle you. That's what they do. They do make you go, I can't believe the machine I own can run that. And there was no real sense of that. I just thought it was as good as you'd expect, but it hadn't moved gameplay on at all.
What was a bit more fun maybe, and certainly did have some different type of gameplay, was the additional stuff they showed from Assassin's Creed 3, where they had the kind of pirate-themed gameplay where you were cannoning other ships. Did you be keen on that?
I thought that looked obviously I've got eyes. I thought that looked fantastic. That was amazing.
You didn't fall into my trap then of going, yeah, it looks rubbish.
No, genuinely brilliant. Yeah. I'm not that big an Assassin's Creed fan, and I've often thought, I know what I'm getting from that series. This game looks so diverse, and the production values are immense. Being a pirate, that's amazing.
So would you say, just before we wrap up, the funny thing, we've seen 2 press conferences now, Microsoft and Sony. The winner is probably thus far, people love to pick winners, Ubisoft.
Yeah, Ubisoft's, what's the game called?
Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs looks fantastic, and that's kind of the winner of the show so far. But what we're seeing from the two traditional console holders is a real wrapping up of the cycle without actually admitting it. And they're putting all their houses in order. You look at the PlayStation Suite rebranding, making it PlayStation Mobile, just getting everything in its neat little place, ready for the really big shocks next year, which may not be E3, it might be earlier.
So just before I go, when we did a similar video with Mike from Xbox World, I asked him to score the conference. He gave Microsoft 4 out of 10. What would you give Sony?
5 or 6, if I was being generous.
You boys.
Yeah, I 6 on the strength of The Last of Us.
I'm going to go again, a conservative 7, also for Sony. Cheers guys, see you soon.